Okay, we want to move now to setting the PNCIMA initiative in more of a context, and to do that, we're going to hear from Rebecca Reid, who is known again by many of you. She's the Regional Director of Oceans Habitat and Enhancement Branch at DFO. So, Rebecca.
Thanks very much, and good morning, everyone. We're here today and tomorrow to talk about planning our ocean's future. Like many of you, getting to this forum has been a journey for me as well, starting in 2000 as the area director in the Central Coast, moving to Port Hardy. 9 years later, as a regional director for the Oceans Habitat Enhancement Branch, I'm very pleased to be here for this very important public launch. What I'd like to do in this brief presentation is essentially set the context for some of the challenges that we are facing, and then offer some ideas borrowed from other experiences. Our oceans, in particular the North Coast, provides an incredibly wide variety of benefits and values, not only to those who live on the North Coast, but also for those in the South and for the rest of Canada. The Pacific North Coast area is rugged, it's ecologically diverse and beautiful. It provides economic prosperity to a multiple of communities and is a key Canadian gateway to the rest of the world. Okay, so now where do I point this? Oh, there we go. It offers a healthy ecosystem that we rely on so that vibrant coastal communities with sustainable economies can be maintained and grow. And so the question is, what do we want our oceans and coast to look like and provide for us 50 years from now? What is our vision of the Pacific North Coast for our grandchildren? Canada's ocean covers a surface area of approximately 7.1 square kilometers. This represents an area equivalent to about 70% of Canada's land mass. Like the land, that space is ours to use. It feeds us, many derive a living from it, but it also needs protection itself so that it remains healthy and productive into the future. Canadians know the ocean to be a vast expanse of immense size and mighty force. But the ocean is also a busy commercial space that supports shipping, fishing, tourism, telecommunications, resource extraction, and much more. In current dollars, the value of output in the ocean sector was $22.7 billion in the year 2000, with British Columbia contributing $6 billion. Over the past few years, as gas prices have soared and concerns about climate change have grown, people have looked to the ocean as a promising new source of renewable energy, taking advantage of the power found in waves, current, and wind. Just as important as these uses of the ocean, scientists are learning that healthy oceans and coasts also provide many less obvious benefits. As shown in this table, they protect shorelines from storms, they moderate global climate, they drive the freshwater cycle, and provide many other benefits. And it's extremely difficult to put a price tag on those benefits. And on the value of what we call ocean services. But when you think about the damage that we all know about caused by recent storms, through wetland losses, about rising sea levels, you get an idea of the very concrete value of healthy oceans and coasts. But as we all know, there have been some significant changes to the ocean environment. Canada's ocean strategy that Paul referred to earlier speaks to the impact of overexploitation, pollution from land-based and sea-based activities, and the alteration and destruction of habitats and ecosystems. The health of the oceans is affected by sewage and pollutant discharges in marine waters, excessive growth of marine plant life and alien species introduction, and changes to hydrology and sediment flow. While this has been going on, our dependency for oceans for our economic and social well-being have grown. Now is the time to change our approach to oceans management. Decisions of today, I'm skipping ahead here. Decisions of today will have a profound impact on oceans and what it will provide for many generations to come. Lacking an integrated approach to use of this shared resource causes conflicts amongst economic, environmental, and social objectives. We need to find ways to balance continued economic prosperity of the ocean resources with healthy and productive ecosystems which respect social and cultural values. Reconciling economic goals with other societal interests is not new, however, and again, that's something that you heard Art talk about most eloquently already. We can learn much from the experiences of urban planning and land management on how to balance multiple uses in a sustainable way. Not long ago, our country was thought of as a vast frontier to be tamed, and many parts of Canada still are, and PNCIMA being included. But over the last century, the government has built rail lines, roads, other infrastructure to help towns and cities grow. It has encouraged private companies to develop the resources that were found on public land, including timber, oil, and minerals. Then in the early 1900s, two things happened. Cities started to get crowded with an explosion of new residences, businesses, and industries. As a result, people needed to find new ways to help many uses coexist and to separate conflicting uses for everyone's benefit. As the lands and forests were developed and mountains were mined, people realized that they also wanted to assure some wild areas remained for future generations. These worries about protecting nature and assuring a quality of life while allowing continued economic growth led to new approaches. And so in the early 1900s, the practice of urban planning was developed to help shape cities in a way that would minimize the growing conflicts between residences, businesses, and industry. And at the same time, new rules were put in place for managing public lands. Timber harvesting, cattle grazing, oil drilling, and other resource uses were allowed to continue, subject to controls under federal and provincial agencies, and some natural areas were set aside as part of the provincial or federal park system. The point of this explanation is not to describe a preset approach to you, but to observe that the effort to reconcile multiple objectives requires a lot of discussion and input from the public, from First Nations, from scientists, from elected officials, levels of government, essentially the people that are in this room today. Of course, it isn't easy, and there's always diverse views about the best way to balance economic growth with community environmental values. But I think that it's often in that diversity that we can arrive at our best